Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome back to Chit Chat Podcast, where we chat all things women. I'm so excited about our episode on today because we know that we're in the month of June, and for the month of June is Men Mental Health Awareness Month. And so, joining me today on a very important topic and episode is two special guests who will be speaking with me on the importance of men mental health awareness and be sharing in on what they know about their journey in mental health and how they're prioritizing their mental health and what they want to share about men, how men need to focus on that as well. So we're going to bring them on. We're going to have them give themselves a quick give you guys a quick bio of themselves. And then we're going to get straight into the interview so we can jump into the session and you guys can hear from them and understand from a men perspective what men mental health awareness mean to them and how important it is to them and how they're prioritizing it in their life. So Jada, if you can bring our special guest on. Hello, hello, good evening.
Hey there.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Great, great.
Good, good. Glad to have you guys on the Chit Chat Podcast. I am so excited about this episode. I think it's a very important episode for us to have and to collaborate with our men, our opposite counterparts to do this episode because we know that mental health is important, period. But it's equally important that our leaders of our families and our leaders of our households, prioritize mental health. And so I'm glad to have you guys on so that we can talk about that and share in on your insight and inputs from how you're prioritizing your mental health and how important it is for other men to do the same. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself real quickly. We'll start with you, Mr. Jones, and then after Mr. Jones, we'll start with you, Mr. Daniels.
Hey, good evening. My name is Eric Jones. I'm originally from Southeast Georgia, small town called Brunswick. I am a trained engineer, and right now I work as a business development manager at an Air Force base. One of the things that I really, really love about my job is the opportunity to mentor young people and especially young men. So I enjoy what I do, and I have a platform, and I like to take advantage of that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Mr. Daniels.
My name is Pastor James. I'm from Moultrie, Georgia, but I'm living in Port St. Lucie, Florida right now. I'm the pastor of a church. We just celebrated our 3-year anniversary, and I have a lot of young men that I'm trying to reach, and I understand the importance of showing them right now that, hey, you got something that you got to say about what you're going through. Go ahead and tell somebody before something too bad happened to you. So I just thank you for the opportunity to be on tonight.
Oh, awesome. 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 Well, we're gonna like quickly get started because I want to dive deep into this episode, but I want to start it out by checking in with you guys. Like, how are you guys doing today? Like, how are you really doing today?
For me, I'm doing pretty good. Like I said, I had a wonderful week. Really had a chance to talk to my wife and really let her know how I'm feeling. Cause like I said, it's getting close to the time where I really during the summertime when I really miss my mother. So and not her not being here, it's really emotional for me. So and I think me and her have that in common because she lost her mother too. So we are able to communicate with each other and tell each other how we feel about it. And like I said, it's so hard when you see how people mistreat their mother and then you don't have your mother. So it gives you like, man, something got to be wrong with you. And it makes me feel like, okay, God, which I like to say, I'm a pastor, but I'm gonna be honest. I say, okay, God, they don't want their mother. And I wanted my mother. Why my mother is not here? And so it's like you get a little mad and you have to realize you have to bring yourself back down. You have to check your feelings and really realize, hey, God is in control and we never know why he does a thing, but we have to respect what he does.
Yeah, and I like that you being real about that because sometimes we can get upset and and that's processing our feelings and our emotions.
Yeah.
And when we do that, um, there's nothing wrong with us asking God questions. God, like, why is this happening? Why is this going on? Why am I dealing with this? You know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But not to say that we're questioning God, like, God, who are you to do this to me, kind
Yeah.
of thing. But sometimes it's for us to get that understanding and to level us back down to say, for God to put us
Exactly.
in that place to say, you know what, you know, everybody deals with, grief or death, at some point in time. So, and it's still part of your process. So, and I'm glad that you brought up grief because grief is an important part of mental health. So we'll dive into that when we get into our questions. So thank you for that. Mr.
Hmm.
Jones, so how are you? How are you really doing?
So mine is a little different. About almost 8 weeks. Tomorrow will be 8 weeks. Out riding my bike, exercising. I actually had a heart attack.
Wow.
So I'm dealing with the physical part of that, which is kind of easy. I go to the gym. I always ate right, stuff like that. Um, but there's a mental aspect of it that I wasn't prepared for. I have a pretty good network of fellows that I lean on, and I've talked to some other folks who have ridden bikes, had heart attacks, the same thing, and every one of them tell me that the mental is tougher than the physical. The physical is easy. I go to therapy 3 times a week. I got 2 5-foot assassins in my house, called my wife and my daughter, that make me do the right things. So that's easy. But the mental part of, how do you go to bed every night and you relive the incident? Or there's a couple of times I convinced myself that I had not had a heart attack. Because I'm a man, I'm not supposed to have that, and I take care of myself, and I'm not going to have a heart attack. And so the mental part of that is, it's not a struggle, but it's a process. And so I have to allow the process to do. I think sometimes as men, we want to be special, and we are special, but we're oftentimes, a lot of people have done this journey before us, and the problems that they had, we're going to have as well. And so we want to be special, but in the end, the problems that the folks had before me, I'm going to have them, and you just got to learn how to deal with those, and have a process for dealing. So that's how I've been doing. So doing great, feel fine physically. Um,
Uh,
just making sure mental health is in there a little bit too, the process.
awesome. Since you mentioned mental health with, processing mental health with what just recently happened, what you just recently experienced, it goes to my next question. When did you first realize mental health was something you needed to pay attention to?
For me, it's been a while. I think the one thing that I have on my side is I have a network of guys, of like-minded brothers who we check on each other. And if you try to slide something past them, they know you and they'll call you out. They don't call you out in public, but they will say, I have friends that will tell me, hey man, something's up. Let's talk.
Right.
And so in that, having being accountable to other people. And I've had that for a while. So I don't get to skate by. I have to talk about it to certain people.
Awesome. And I'm glad you say that because, when you have those relationships with people, whether it's, with a spouse or family or friends or whatever, people tend to know people. So when
Mhm.
things are off or things are different and
Yep.
behaviors are changing and characteristics are changing, you start to notice those changes. And
Mhm.
so, having those relational, situations connected to those people like that, it's easy to pick up on when people are not their themselves.
Absolutely.
So that's good that you have that accountability in that village. How
Mhm.
about you, Stacy?
I think mine is my wife. My wife can tell when I walk in the door by my body motion or by how my facial expression that is something wrong. And even though I try to tell her ain't nothing wrong, she keeps nagging. And because she knows, she said, I know you. I know you. Talk to me. Talk to me. But I think the fear from talking to her goes back for a long time. I remember when I was first went through my first divorce, my only divorce rather, and I started dating this lady, and and the divorce was really hard for me because I had been a father, been in the house with my kids and everything, and now the separation from my kids was something that I truly didn't know how to deal with. And so I was trying to explain to her, and the thing that brought the fear about was the fear of not really just letting my whole self go and tell someone everything that's going on, because I remember like after I told her, and I thought it was good because I was able to release, I was able to let everything go outside, so I felt better on the inside. But then a few weeks later, I had a bad day at work, and I came home. We was talking with, and she like, I'm not really feeling myself. I'm not really myself. And she said, "Oh, you're in your feelings again." And so that like, what you mean by my feelings? So it's like, okay, you referring to what I told you when I was vulnerable and told you how I truly feel. Now you throwing it back up in my face. So it kind of makes a man shut down, because it's sad when you thought that the person that you talked to understood what you was going through, and were really there to help. But then when it comes back and be thrown into your face, it makes you pull back from even now. Like I said, that's been 20 years ago, and it still plays that in my head. I tell you enough to see how you react, and then I tell you a little bit more. And I think that's the biggest thing that people have to understand when it's come to mental health. You have to let that person, you have to be able to be patient with an individual that going through mental health. Because if you're not patient and you try to rush them through and trying to force them to tell you everything, you ain't gonna get everything. So you have to be patient. And I think that's why I love my wife, because she is patient. She'll let me say a little bit here and then a little bit there, and to continue to say until I get everything out. She don't force me to say anything. She let me do it at my own pace, and that's why I think I love her for that.
Awesome. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
if I
said,
can add to that too,
go
he's
ahead.
absolutely right. If the first time you throw it back in my face,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yep.
I'm done. And that's how men are. We are very reluctant to be vulnerable. And when we are, and it gets flipped back on us, we got a one and done deal on that. Most men, one and done.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's most men, they shut down because it's already hard enough for them to open up as is. And so when they do decide to open up and show some vulnerability or whatever, then it takes a lot. And especially if you're talking about grieving, you brought up something, Stacey, I want to bring up about divorce. And a lot of men tend to not showcase when they're dealing with a divorce situation. And I've dated people before who had a hard time dealing with, they had been divorced and had a hard time dealing with their divorce, and I could see it, but they was reluctant to say that's what the issue was.
Yeah.
But but at the end of the day, when our relationship didn't work out, that person went back to their ex-wife.
Yeah.
So so that what I was thinking and feeling or whatever, it was valid because they had unresolved issues. And instead of being honest about those things and processing those feelings and emotions about it, and it's okay because divorce, people can grieve divorce. When I got divorced, I didn't date for 10 years after I got a divorce. So, it sometimes it don't take people that long, but it took a lot for me to get through what I had to get through and then get to the point where I wanted to trust people around my kids so that that I had, trust issues to have people around my kids other than their dad was. So but yeah, people grieve divorce, and especially men, but they don't like to say, I'm having a hard time looking at, like I failed at my marriage or whatever. And they process and suppress those feelings. And so it comes out other kind of ways in relationships or other things that they're dealing with. And so, and mental health issues are part of that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So,
Yeah, because that's one of the hardest things I ever did. I think that's one of the worst pains I ever felt, because, especially when you grow up in a household and you don't have a father, and then you know how hard it was for you, and now you just put your kids in the same predicament that you said you never wanted to be in. And so it was so much, and even, and either the reason I say that, because I stayed at least 5 years in a broken marriage just because of my kids.
mm,
And the reason why I got divorced, my son seen it. He said, "Dad, you ain't happy, is you?" And I like, man, I'm stuck now. Either I'm gonna show my son you don't have to be in a relationship that you're not happy with, or I'm gonna be there for him. And then even though I was still a part of their life, but not being in a home, that's different. where they come home every day, they see you every day, they know that my dad's there for me. And so it became hard for me and every day after that, after I got divorced, it was like, man, should I go back just for the kids? Can I do another 10 years till they old enough to go on their own and know that I stuck with? But then I was like, man, I'm gonna be miserable there. And so it had to make that decision. And like I said, it was difficult. And that's why I don't understand why men don't be honest with it. Because I know another brother that I knew, he got a divorce and he kept saying that he was okay with it, but he kept dating all the women that looked like his wife.
Mm.
And I said, you ain't okay with it because that's all you're attracted to. And then they never worked out because and then like I said, after 5 times, he went back to her because he still wanted her, but he know how to resolve the issue that they had. So that's why I said
Right.
we have to be conscious and realize, man, divorce for a man, that's a difficult situation, especially a man that got in it for the right reason.
Right. Or or they'll start repeating the same patterns. They'll be
Cycle,
on
yep.
the hamster wheel doing, repeating the same patterns in every relationship that they deal with every woman because they haven't, conquered or, conquered and faced the issues that they really need to face and conquer. And so and instead of doing that, they just jump, to leave one person and go to the next person and thinking that's going to solve the issue, but then they're just still on this hamster wheel,
Yeah.
repeating cycle. So that's going to bring me to my next question, and I'm going to let you start with this one, Stacy, since you brought that up about not having a father and what pushed you to stay in your marriage a little bit longer, even though you knew your marriage was pretty much over. It says, what does being a man mean to you today, and how has that definition evolved over time?
I think what a man mean to me, what I first thought a man meant was being there for their family. And when I thought about that as I got older, it's a whole lot more than just being in their presence to be a father or be a man. We have to teach them about, hey, it's okay if you're a man if you cry. It's okay if you're a man if you can express your feelings. It's okay if you're a man and you have those moments where you feel weak and you don't know what to do. You have to trust somebody and let that out because a man, the perception that we have that we grew up with, a man's supposed to be hard. He don't supposed to cry. He don't supposed to have no emotion. He supposed to be tough. He supposed to be strong, and all that stuff ain't what really a man is. A man supposed to have a feeling just like everybody else because we get so much. Well, we try to hide what we feel because it's easy to pretend you're okay when you know you're not okay. See, in my younger years, I always said I was okay, knowing deep down in my head, deep down in my body, man, I needed help. I ain't know what I was gonna do. And I isolated myself because I didn't want people to see me in that state. So when I'm feeling bad, I didn't go nowhere. When I'm feeling like I'm not myself, I hid myself from everybody. And that I knew after a while as I became older, and like I said, in this time when I was like 35, when I realized, man, I've been trying to be something that I wasn't. I'm trying to hold tears when I want to cry. I'm trying to fake emotions when I want to express myself. And it became difficult. And like I said, it almost took me to a point where I started dealing with depression. And when I started dealing with depression, man, I'm glad I met my wife because she was a real person that would tell you everything about her. I mean, she told me everything. And I'm like, man, why can't I tell her everything about me? But it goes back into that time when I'm telling you earlier when I did do that and it came back to bite me in the butt. So it still played that role, but I'm glad that I'm able to talk to her more. And there's a whole lot of stuff I still want to tell her, but she allowed me to be patient with it. And that's why I think it's important. When you try to force men to talk, they're going to really push them back and they ain't going to talk. So
Awesome.
I think yeah.
What about you, Mr. Jones?
I think sometimes men, we get caught up into monetary and tangible things. And you want to have those things as a man. You want to work and you want to have a job and things like that. And one thing I know my dad, no matter what happened in the house, and my mom and dad had problems and whatnot, my dad was going to work. At 7:30, he was going to work. 38 years, 38 and a half years at a chemical plant. He went to work. So he was a provider. So my job as a man is to provide. My job is also to make things better. If I see it, I need to make it better. That goes for my family. That goes for my wife. That goes for my daughter, my son. I do a lot of mentoring high school kids. How can I make it better? And if I'm a man, I'm going to make it better. I'm also gonna, if I tell you, I don't know Pastor James, but if I tell him I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. And he can put that in the bank. And you need to be, as a man, you got to be dependable. You can't be all over the place. If I tell you I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I have a set of friends, my village. I have friends that I could be around the world, call these people and say, hey, man, I need you to go to my house. Here's the code. I need you to go into the lockbox and get that or whatever. And that's what will happen because he told me he was going to do it. So for a man, to me, is saying is one thing, but doing is the other part. You got to do. You got to, as a man, it might apply to women. I'm not a woman. I don't know. But for men, you got to do. You got to make it better and you got to do. That's the thing. Do what you say you're going to do.
I absolutely love that because one of the first things that women look for is consistency. And one of the things that we see in consistency is what you do. And so when a man, do what he say, then, we can see the patterns of consistency or whatever, and that's a lot. Love is an action word. Love is what love does. I'm not a person that you can give me lip service. I need to be able to see what you're going to do because, you can tell me something all day long, but if your actions is not meeting up with what you're saying, all that is hot air and broken energy. I need to see your actions matching up with what you're saying, but actions speak louder than words. So, women look for that consistency. That's what we're looking for. If we're trying to measure a man by what we think we want in a man or what we see in a man, we're looking for that consistency. Almost every woman will probably tell you they want to see consistency. And you're going to see that consistency by what a man does. So you're absolutely right with that. And I'm glad that you guys have these villages and support system because that's important. I know that you talk about your friend group and you talk about your wife as support system a lot. So we're going to talk about practical tools and growth when it comes to mental health. So what are some habits and tools and practices that helps you manage your own mental health? Like that you go, and I'll ask you that, Eric, because I know you work in a career field. So what are some of the practical tools and habits that you use to help you manage your mental on a day-to-day basis?
When I was working in a really, really strenuous job about 3 years ago, and I had the opportunity to transfer jobs into another one it's just as important, but a little less strenuous. I started meditating. One of my friends said, hey, you should start meditating. And so I have a Peloton, and a part of the Peloton is you get a meditation app. And in the last 3 years, I've probably missed about 12 days for meditation. I meditate every morning. It's prayer and then meditation. And I take that time to prepare. It's almost like a runner would prepare. You're going to tie your shoes before you run. And it's my preparation for the day. And I'll pick a topic or something like that. So in addition to the prayer, it's the meditation to allow me to prepare for things. I've learned through meditation, I don't have to react to everything. Things are going to come. Life, man. Life going life every day. And you don't have to react to every single thing. And so that is the main thing that I do is, in addition to prayer, is just taking some time, 5-15 minutes in the morning, my solo time. My wife knows I'm going to go in the bedroom, close the door, and I'm going to meditate and get myself right mentally before I head out for the day.
I love it. The meditation is I just started meditating. I started this healing journey after my last breakup, and I added meditation as part of mine. So I do that on a daily basis too. Mm-hmm. So I give myself 10 minutes of meditation time in the morning before I leave during the day. So I'll do my devotion time in the morning, and then I add 10 minutes of meditation time. So, and I can see the difference. Mm-hmm. I'm not so reactive
Mm-hmm.
in so many things anymore. And and I feel like I'm so clear when I have to make a decision, or I have to do things, or I have to respond to things. So it's not so drastic. I'm not getting so erratic or so sporadic when it comes to things. So I think it does help.
It
And if
does.
people utilize that a little bit more, I think it'll be a great tool. I think that would be a great tool for people to use.
All right.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. James.
Me is me time. I've been working on this. I've been working this job for like two jobs really for 20 years, and that takes me an hour to drive to work and an hour to drive home. And I tell my wife, while I'm going to work, don't call me unless it's an emergency. That's my time to get myself mellow for work, and then when I'm coming home, that's my time to get myself mellow to enter back into the home. Because I think that personal time is good for every man. Well, you ain't got to worry about the life. You ain't got to worry about what she said. You got to worry about what he said. You ain't got to worry about what you're doing. That hour drive is so comfortable for me. And like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years, and everybody like, man, why don't you quit that job or won't you find another job? I said, you don't know, it ain't the job, it's the time driving to the job that I love. I'm
Mhm.
looking out there, I'm looking at the cars, everybody flying by me. I'm at my regular pace because it's my me time. So I ain't got to be in no hurry, I ain't got to be in no rush. I just got to take my time. And I think that's one of the tools I love. And because, like I said, when those days that I'm off and I don't do that drive, I realize, man, I'm missing something. My day ain't going like it's supposed to be going because I didn't get that hour where I can just be by myself, talk to the Lord, have a little prayer time, have a little, like I said, y'all said meditation, have a little time where I can just get myself right. Because, like I said, you sometimes when you get up, you get up on the wrong side of the bed. And
Mhm.
you got to get yourself right before you get to where you're going, because now you're around people. So it's my time to make sure I'm relaxed, make sure I'm ready for that day. And I love it because, like I said, I ain't got to worry about nobody but nobody talking to me, and all is just me and God. And so that's why I say I love that all the time. So that's my me time. And like I said, and another thing I do is we have this men meeting that we do on the second Saturday every month. But I realized the thing that gets discouraging about that, it's hard to get men to come out and fellowship. And like I said, it ain't we're not talking about. We just want to know how you doing for that month. How did you have some issues that you have? Are you having your me and you? Are you and your wife having issues that you want to talk to a brother about? Because it's several different men's in there. And cause like tomorrow we having another meeting where outside the grown men's, you're gonna stay home. I'm gonna take the three teenage boys we got, and I'm gonna take them out, and I'm gonna get them to talk, and I'm gonna spend some quality time with them. Because like I told you earlier, Shan, I know someone personally that committed suicide, and I know someone personally that tried to commit suicide. And one of them was a member of my church. And when I found out about it, I said, man, I apologize to you because I thought I was doing the right things. I thought I was asking the right question. I thought I was trying to be that person that you can come to. And then for you to do that, it made me realize, man, I wasn't really doing what I supposed to be doing. So I said, I'm going to really put more effort into getting to know my young people in my church because, like I said, I don't want them to feel like they can't come to me, that I'm so holy that they can't come to me and tell them what they're going through everyday life. So I said, we're going to have some time where it's going to be me and us, me and y'all, and we're going to talk. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And it's not going to be about church. I ain't going to talk about God. I want to talk about your life, what you're going through in school, what you're going through in your personal life. Because, like I said, I need them to realize that no matter how old you is, you're going to go through some stuff. You're going to have some dire needs and situations that you need to get some answers for. And if you're going to the wrong people for the answers, you ain't going to do the right thing. So I just want to
Right.
make myself more available for them.
I like that. I like that open door policy, and you availing yourself to them,
Yeah.
because the younger you do that and making yourself available to them, that helps them as they grow to become men.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they know that I don't have to hold this in. I don't have to
Yeah.
suppress this, because Pastor James taught me that I can be vulnerable. I can talk about it. I can express myself. I can let it out, or I can talk to somebody about something. So that's good that you're doing that, and you're starting with the younger guys, because
Yes.
sometimes as men, they don't have that when they're younger, or they don't have those availabilities. And so by the time they're men, it's so hard for them to open up to people, or to open up to someone, because um it's been years. So
Yeah.
they're like, who can I trust? So but that's good that you're doing that. And I love that both of you guys have some practical tools that people can use. So I'm gonna go to the next question. It says, have you ever gone to therapy or used mental health services? And if so, how was that experience for you?
You want to
So
start with?
I will say this: I did not personally. I went with my son, and it was not a good experience. I wasn't for me; it was for him, and it just wasn't a good experience. Now, having said that, um, I think it's a good idea to talk to somebody. I think it's a good idea to talk to somebody that's not related to you.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to a professional. Um, Talking to a mentor or whatever, that's great. But I don't believe in just one size fits all. I do believe that talking to a professional, they will have more tools and it will bring out things that a layman won't do. I mean, you're not going to go to the guy across the street to fix your teeth, right? So you'll find a dentist. And if you have something that you need to talk to somebody, go and talk to somebody. They will have practical tools. I'm friends with a lot of counselors in schools, and just talking to them and listening to how they approach just about anything, they generally have a different way to approach it, a way that as a layman, I wouldn't know how to do. And so I'm a firm believer of people having professional training, and you allow them the opportunity to help you. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree. I agree. And I think when the ladies and I talked about this last week on our segment, they mentioned that you know, therapy may not be for everybody. However, find what fits for you. Like if you rather go to a life coach or to a pastor or to someone else or a priest or whoever, then find what works for you. However, it just works when you're getting the resources and the necessary help that you need. We know that a lot of times we tend to have, like you mentioned, we tend to have a dentist. When we got to go to the dentist, we tend to have a dentist. When we need to go, medically, we have our primary doctor. But why shouldn't we have somebody to take care of our mental needs when we need to have our mental checkup or our mental capacity? Just like having an oil checkup on your car. When you need your maintenance checkup on your car, we take our car in and get that maintenance checkup. That's what our bodies need. We need a total checkup. If we're going to get our physical every year, it should always include mental as well. If we're going to get dental and physical profiles and exams done, it should always include mental exams. Or even if you're just checking in and say, hey, I'm good this year, it's been a good year for me. However, I just want to check in and let you know that this, that, and the other. But people don't see that as an unnecessary need, you know and I think once people start thinking of it as like, if I got a primary doctor, I should at least have a therapist on standby, so that when, if I do need that service or if I do need that resource, I can tap into it and reach out to them.
I
So
agree. I agree.
yeah. So Stacey, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, like I said, when I was my job provided therapy for us when we, like I said, I ran full service restaurants, but also did like retail furniture with errands. And I know at that time that's kind of real stressful. So the job would provide therapy. So I remember taking the therapy, which helps me a lot today because the stuff I learned, it taught me how to listen. Because as a pastor, you have to do some therapy yourself. But so it taught me how to listen because I remember my therapist would basically let me talk. He would try to, his whole method was to get me to release what was in me. And so now when I have to counsel people, I do the same thing. I'm here to listen. You tell me what's going on with you. But I also tell a lot of people that I counsel, it's two type of counsel. You're gonna need pastoral counseling, and then you're gonna need professional counseling. Someone, like he was saying earlier, someone that went to school for it, that can do a little bit better, because you ain't gonna be able to, you hear some stuff you don't want to tell your pastor. So you're gonna have to go to someone that don't know you, and feel okay to go tell them what's going on and allow them to help you. Because like I said, a pastor counseling is where we try to fix your spirit and your spirit. But like saying, it's some counseling out there where you got professionals that know exactly what you need to do, exactly how to help you. And sometimes it's more important to realize, like you said, you need a doctor, you need a therapist, you need all that kind of stuff. But we want the pastor to do the thing that a therapist is supposed to be doing. And sometimes, like I said, when you truly understand what you're going through, especially a pastor, sometimes you got to say, okay, I can't fix everything. And a lot of pastors don't want to say that, and they leave people broken. They send them, okay, you good, I pray about it. But sometimes they need something tangible, something that they can work with on that day. So that's why I say, if I get into a situation where I'm counseling one and I realize, man, this ain't helping. So I recommend you go get a therapist, someone that went to school for it, someone that you'll be more freely to talk and explain what you're going through, and that can better help you than me. Because like I saying, I'm going by what you're telling me, but I don't feel like you're telling me everything. So that's why I
Agree.
said it's important for we to make sure that we, as pastors, direct people when we can't help them, direct them to someone that can help them.
Absolutely. And we're going to go into this cultural, social, and systematic factors when it comes to mental health. And I want to bring that up because as we're talking about different therapists or whatever, I also brought this up in our segment last week with the ladies when they brought up the fact that, therapy may not be for everybody and, find what works for you. And I was sharing how, sometimes cultural and social and systematic factors are are factors when it comes to mental health and looking for therapists and all that. So my question to you guys, and I asked this because my son actually dealt with this because he goes to an Ivy League school, and when he was seeking a therapist at his school for resources, they provided him a therapist, but it wasn't working for him because he felt like the therapist couldn't relate to him culturally and socially. And so he requested a therapist that looks like him. And so they made the adjustments and found him a therapist outside of the school system, and provided that service to him. And I'm glad that he was able to speak up and say that instead of just suffering through a provided service and it wasn't helping him, because sometimes people will do that. And if it's not benefiting you and people suffer in silence and they're not getting the help that they need. So how do race, culture, or background affects the way men approach mental health? Like, do you feel like, can men accept going to mental health counseling through a woman therapist, or from, you know, um, you know, outside therapist who doesn't look like them? So, how do some of those factors culturally and racially affects men mental health?
So one of the things that starting on the outside, and this is just as a black man, I am afforded one emotion. I can have one emotion. I can be angry. If I'm vulnerable, then I'm in my feelings. But I can be angry. So I can do that. And once if I can break through that and realize that I can show the vulnerability, then I have a right to have someone who understands where I came from, what's there. And so I do believe that even in business and mentoring, I always tell people get two mentors and have them be polar opposites. So you get two sides of the coin and you get two sides of people looking at you. But as a man, you want a man to because the man is going to understand some things that a woman, no matter how well she's trained, may not understand about a man.
I
I
agree.
I just met the pastor, and I guarantee you, if I talk to him for 15 minutes, I'm going to understand something about him, and he's going to understand something about me that will allow us to bond. And
Mhm.
then we can go and build on that. And so I think, yes, sometimes if I'm a black man, there may be fewer options for having a mental health professional that looks like me to be available to me. Especially the smaller the town you get, the less likely you're like to have it. Now, if I'm in a bigger city, I have a more chance of finding somebody who looks like me, thinks like me, who's been where I've been. Again, I don't need to just see Black male therapists. I might need to see somebody else. But if I want to find a Black male, that person probably, likely, will have a better understanding of where I come from and will be able to provide those tools that Pastor talked about to make me do a little better. Those are my feelings on that.
Okay. Stacey?
And I think, like I said, if I'm going through something, I want to be in front of somebody that will understand what I'm going through. And if you never been in the culture that I'm been in, you never struggled like I've struggled, you never seen the stuff that I've seen, I don't feel like, personally, I don't feel like you can give me the advice by what you read in a book. And so, I want someone that I can relate to, that looks like me, that thinks like me, that acts like me, that talks like me. And because it just like you go into a counselor for a marriage counselor, and the person that's counseling you never been married. You read a book, but you ain't really had no real life situation, no really in the house kind of experience. So how can I? Like me and my wife, we were going to counsel one time, and then the person was not relatable because they never been married. And I was like, how can you not been married and you're a marriage counselor? Just because you read a book, I don't think they give you enough experience to help nobody because you ain't seen everything. Because no matter how big the book is, it's still stuff that you haven't experienced. So I want someone that has been through some stuff, that has lived the life that I lived, similar to it, that can relate to me. Because like I said, this is my life we talking about. These my feelings we talking about. I'm being vulnerable to you. So I don't want to just talk to you and you ain't going to give me no help. So there has to be someone that I can feel like understands what I'm saying.
I love it. Absolutely. So, because we listen to both of you guys with your answers, and hearing how my son responded, to his situation, how can we, or you guys as men, collectively redefine masculinity in a way that includes vulnerability and emotional honesty, like without losing yourself as a man, redefine your masculinity, where it includes like you guys being vulnerable and emotionally available and emotionally honest?
I think that comes from the village. I think that men need to have their boys. Now, if somebody tells you they got 30, I got 30 boys. No, you don't. That's about it. You might have two hands, but you got to have somebody that you can be real with, and they can be real with you. And what you do then is I was talking to a guy today, and you don't take that relationship and put a basket over top. That's a light. You don't put a basket over top of that. You show other men how to talk to men. You show young boys that if they're around, how do you deal with other men? How do you do that? And you show them. You like you just said, Pastor, you can tell them all day. You got to show them. I got to show the pastor love. I got to show him respect. I got to show him that we can have a conversation. And our younger men need to see that. Your son, I'm so glad that he had the strength to say, this is what I need. He wouldn't wear a size 8 cleat if he needs a size 11, right? He's going to tell you, I need an 11. I don't need an 8. Well, I need this. And we have to be able to tell them. Now, I do a lot of mentoring, and I had a therapist come in and talk to my mentoring group and to teach the young men, what's the difference between being assertive and being aggressive? All right. Because if aggressive for young Black boys doesn't get frowned upon, but being assertive, saying, I need this. I don't need that, what you gave me. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it. But I need this over here. We have to teach them the difference between being aggressive and being assertive. We have to teach them the difference in being soft and just talking to somebody and letting them know how to let off that steam. Like the pastor said, he's got an hour to drive. He's not running away from his wife. He's running to his solitude. It's not a bad thing. we have to teach them. We have to show them and model how we need to act and how we need to act towards each other, how we need to give grace to other people and other men. We got to show, not just tell. We got to show.
And for me, I think the what's going to be important for me, like what I'm planning on doing tomorrow, I'm planning on being straight honest with these young men. Let them know, hey, I went through the same stuff you going through. I had girl problems, I had money problems, I had didn't know what I want to do. I was mad at my parents. I was always angry. I had these issues, and I felt like I couldn't talk to nobody. I went through life just being hard for no reason, shutting people out that try to get inside, and I wouldn't let nobody in because I was afraid who I was gonna let in. Once I start feeling these feelings for you, you was gonna leave. And so I'm gonna be honest with her. And like I said, I think that's the first step. We have to be honest. We have to let them know that we experienced the same thing. We have never always been this person that you see today. But if you put your mind together, if you get the right help, if you start talking about how you feel, you can be this person that you see, that you respect. But until you start understanding that the person that you think that you are right now and the people that you're going to, because how can you go to your classmate for advice and your classmate haven't even experienced life yet? And that's what we have to let them know. If you're gonna talk to somebody that's gonna be able to help you, that's gonna be honest to you, not to somebody that don't have the right answer to give you. And so that's why I think it's important for us to really focus on letting kids know, letting the young men know that, hey, you can talk to somebody. You ain't got to go through this thing that you're going through on your own. If the girl break your heart, my heart been broken. And if they talking about you in class, if they bullying you in the class, they did that to me. But like I said, it has to be honesty. What they don't see like, oh man, he never been through nothing. See, a lot of times as we get older, we don't want to go back to the past and tell about people about the stuff that we went through because we don't want to relive it. But sometimes you have to tell that stuff that you went through and have to be honest with it. And so that these young men know that, hey, wow, I ain't no pastor went through that. Oh, I ain't know he had to deal with that. I ain't know. I thought he was always this strong figure. But no, I was broken. I was depressed. I had to take medication for a little bit. And so we have to let them know, hey, it's things that happens in our lives that we can overcome, but we have to talk about it first. Amen.
Right.
And they can smell when you throwing them a line.
Oh
They
yeah.
can smell it from a mile away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But there's nothing new up under the sun. So,
No.
I used to tell my kids all the time, been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Mhm.
They felt like they the only ones that don't experience something, did something or whatever. Honey, I don't did that 5, 6, 7 times.
Yeah.
So,
I used, I used to tell them this. I was like, I wasn't born with a towel.
right,
No, no,
right.
Yeah.
no,
But
no, no,
that
no.
vulnerability is important, because it provides, it opens up to have that trust, to give them that trust. And when you're providing that honesty with them and then show that, I've been there, I've gone through that, so and so have experienced the same thing, people within your village or in your tribe has gone through certain things or whatever. When men see that, boys see that, men see that or whatever, then they're more apt to opening up and talking. Because I know there's still grown men who they go to therapy and they still don't tell the truth. They sit on that
Yeah.
sofa for a whole hour and still ain't opened up and been truthful about what they need to be truthful about, and ain't getting the benefits of therapy like they should because they holding back. They don't want to. They don't want to be vulnerable because being vulnerable means it's gonna show who they really are, and then it's gonna open up some wounds that they ain't ready to open up. And the only way that they're gonna heal and get past that past baggage is doing that. And some men are not ready for that, and they carry that on for years and years and years. And so, but having that accountability, like you guys are speaking about, what you do for the boys and what you have in your tribe and your group and your accountability friends, that's important. And a lot of men don't have that. And so when men have that, they need to know that that's airtight. That's something good. Because men who don't have that is in dire need of something like that, because they're not going to go sit on that sofa and tell the truth half of the time, because they're not ready to, be vulnerable with somebody like that. But they'll be vulnerable with they boy, you know. So that's important that you guys brought that up, and I'm glad that you guys have that, in y'all system, and utilizing that. Before we get to a close, I want to bring up because you're doing this, Stacey, because you do the young boys, what are some responsibilities you think that workplaces and schools and even our government, like for jobs, have and need to have in supporting our men well-being, mental health well-being? Like, what can they contribute to help men focus more on their mental well-being?
I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing, like with my job when I was in this thing, they provided therapy because they knew that the job was stressful. School is stressful. Jobs are stressful, especially for a young man coming straight from his home where his parents have been taking care of him and he started in the workforce. It's stressful because now you got this stranger telling you to do this and you didn't do all the stuff your parents told you. So now this man, this woman demanding you to do this. So it becomes stressful and then you know what to do. That's why a lot of young men quit their first job because they're not ready to handle that responsibility of listening to someone that ain't their parents. And so that's why I said I think we have to guide them better and have to teach them better. And even that starts at home. The parents have to teach a child that's going into the workforce that, hey, this day job, that's their company. They have the right to tell you how they want to run it because that belongs to them. So I remember my wife telling me a story about one of her oldest daughter, and she used to always come home complaining. They want me to do this here. That don't make no sense. It's their job. They make the rules. If you want to work there, you do what they say. If you don't want to work there, you quit. But a lot of times we don't have that the mentality where we teaching the kids before they leave the house what is expected of them. And I think they need to teach that in school. What is expected of you when you get a job, when you go out into the workforce? What is expected for you when you leave your parents' house? What is expected for you when you start having these mental breakdowns that you have the right to seek help? And I think these hotlines that they have out there, I think they should be more posted and they should be in the school where they can call somebody and talk to them. You want to talk to your teacher, you want to talk to your classmates, you want to talk to your parents, have a hotline that's posted in the school or even on the jobs where they say, oh, call this number if you need to talk to somebody. Because really, I don't even know a number off head. I have to go into the Google to find a number. And like
Yeah.
I said, so if that number is more available to them where they feel like they, and it's not felt like you are, like I said, it's not felt like by calling that number that you weak. You calling this number because you need to call this number. I call this number. It's just a number that's gonna help you. And we have to change the mentality of those numbers that call. Cause I got a member now, and she like 7, 8. She said I call them every week just to talk to somebody. And I think that's as important so that we can have those numbers available so those kids can use it and utilize it. Because why have a line that can help them, but they don't know about it?
Exactly. And you bring up a good point because I'm not sure, um, if all schools have it, but I know when my son went to school and he had a mental breakdown doing in the middle of football season and doing a middle of football camp actually, and I had no idea the whole entire time, but he knew to call that number
Yeah.
and report himself because he didn't feel right, and
Yeah.
and he knew to call and report himself and self-report. And when he did that, they came to him or whatever. And I'm so glad that he did because, I could have been a parent dealing with a whole different situation. Had he not had a number available, had he not known to go to a number or know about the number or whatever. So, yeah, I think that number would be highly important for schools to make sure it's available. Kids have their phone all the time. So
Yep.
they're gonna keep their phone. So if that number is available, they can at least put it in their phone as a contact or something
Yep.
in case they need it or whatever. So I think that's a valid point. What about you, Eric?
I think exactly the same. I think it needs to be available. So, for example, the folks that work for me, I always tell them when I have a director's call, all right, here's my cell. I need you to put it in the cell, not tomorrow, not when you get back to your desk. I need it in your phone right now because you don't know when you're going to need it.
Right.
And so for our kids, what we need to do is make it available. The other thing is the schools that I work with, the counselor travels with the class. So that counselor picks up ninth graders. And he takes them when they go to 10th and when they go to 11th and when they go to 12th. By the time they're 12th graders, he knows about them and he's been with them. Now, some schools they have, well, I'm the ninth grade counselor. Well, you see them 1 year. They pass through, they go to the next counselor, and then they go to the next counselor. And there's a continuity there. And so I think the thing that we have to do is to what Pastor said is make it available, make it known, make it so that everybody can see it easily. Because you don't know the day and you don't want to go searching for a number when you're having a problem. So you need to make it easy. That's the first thing. Make it easy, make it accessible. And then have a cadre of people who are willing to actually help them and be there for them. And that's the thing. In schools, they need to travel. I think all counselors need to travel with classes so they'll have continuity. We talked about consistency earlier with men. The consistency. Those kids need consistency. A couple of my frat brothers are counselors, and you should see the kids around them. It's like he's a parent because he knows so much about them that he can tell you, oh, he's having a bad day. And why? Because he and his girlfriend broke up. So this and that. And just something as simple as that. You know, as an adult, we may think, oh, he broke up with his girlfriend. Not a big deal. No. I remember Felicia Ville broke up with me in the 8th grade. I'm still mad about that. And so I'm saying, I'm mad about it. But you know what I'm saying? You and in 8th grade, man, that was the end of the world.
Right.
That was the end of the world. And so
heart broke.
It was. And you sitting there thinking, and my mom, I knew she was sitting there, boy, you're like 15 years old. That's going. But to a high schooler in that moment, that is just as important as us getting divorced, having a bankruptcy or losing a job or whatever. And we have to recognize that that's important to them then. We have somebody there, some resources that they can dial into quickly, that they can get to without any problem at all. We got to make it easy. Got to make it just as easy as them getting into bad stuff. Got to have them get the good stuff just as easily.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So on our closing reflections, I want to ask you guys this. If you could speak directly to a man listening who's struggling right now with mental health, what would you say to him? And I'll start with you, Eric. What would you say to him?
I'm gonna steal from the pastor again. Generally, whatever you're going through, you're probably not the first. Somebody has dealt with that. And the other part to that is most good people will give you the time. You just got to find them and ask them. They will pull you to the side and have a conversation, and they will throw you a life raft. They will throw you a life preserver, just like they would if you were in a pool drowning. They're not going to just leave you hanging. And if you're going through something, find somebody to talk to. Find somebody, call a friend, call your pastor, call your boss. So most people are decent people, and they will help you until they can get you to somebody who can help you better. Don't give up. Just call somebody.
Love it. Stacey?
I think I'm going to say that what I would tell them is get you an accountability partner. Someone that's going to be honest with you no matter what you're going through, because a lot of times we have people in our lives that are afraid to tell us the truth when the truth will help us. If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, don't wait for me to get so far out that I can't recover. Tell me right now I'm going down a path that I shouldn't be going down. Tell me right now that I need to talk to somebody. I need to fix this. But a lot of times we have people that we have surrounded ourselves with that.
Uh-oh, did we lose him? I think we might have lost him there. But I'm going to piggyback off what he said while we waiting on him to come back. Yeah, when you have people who enable a lot of people and not hold them accountable, it does them a disservice. It's not helping them, it's hindering them. And so you're back.
Yes. But like I said, an accountable partner is essential for a man. I got one that's another pastor, and I can tell him anything. He can tell me anything. And we hold each other accountable, because if you call yourself my friend, you have to be honest with me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we have people that are not honest with us, that will allow us to think that we are singing knowing that we can't sing. When all would have told me, man, you good. I appreciate what you're trying, but you ain't good at that. And that will solve a whole lot of problems. But we get people in our life don't want to be honest with it. So I would tell a brother right now, find you somebody that you can depend on, that gonna walk with you, gonna talk with you, gonna be there for you when the good days, when the bad days happening. Because when you got somebody that truly cares about you, they ain't afraid to be honest with you. And a lot of times we don't have people that we can really depend on, because we don't have people that, how I said, we don't have people that truly know us, because we're not even building strong relationships.
Right. And then we're not being totally honest
Yep.
with those people because, we're holding back, we're holding things back. And when you had cut off, I was saying how when you said that, people need to be honest, I was saying that is true because some people are enablers. They enable people, and that hinders people. It doesn't help them. And so you're trying to help people to be set free. We don't want people to continue to be bound in mental, health issues and things that they struggle with when it comes to their mental health. We want them to be freed from that. And so somebody who's totally enabling you and constantly, don't tell you what's truthful or what's right or what's wrong, what you should be doing or how you should be doing things, or hold you accountable for things, then you need to check your circle when that comes to that.
Yes.
Because those people are not the people you need in your circle or your tribe. Because at the end of the day, you want people who genuinely love and care for you enough that they care about your, not just about your physical health, but about your mental health as well.
I think
Yes.
also that you got to have people in your circle who are willing to to jeopardize your friendship for a little bit to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Right.
They will tell you, I know you don't want to hear this, and you're gonna get mad at me, and I don't care because I'm your friend, and I'm gonna tell you that shirt's ugly,
Yeah.
right? And so you
Yep.
need people to say, nah, bro, you were wrong. You were wrong on that, and you need to go fix that. And you can get mad, huff and puff, and all this kind of stuff, but deep down, you know they're right.
Yep.
And if they're
Hmm.
your friend, you know they're right, and you're gonna get mad, calls you a man, and you don't want anybody telling you what to do and all this kind of stuff. But you ain't going nowhere because that's your friend,
Right.
and he got your back.
Right.
And you need
That's,
that kind of village.
it takes
Yep.
that. It takes that.
Mhm.
I have two girlfriends. My best friend and my girlfriend that co-hosts with me on the podcast. I go to, those are my go-to. When I know that my best friend is my ride or die. She gonna ride with me if I'm right. She gonna ride with me. If I'm wrong, she gonna ride with me. But I know my other girlfriend, if I'm wrong, she gonna let me know I'm wrong, and she ain't finna let me do the wrong or say the wrong or whatever, and she gonna correct it on the spot. So, but my best friend, we've been best friend for years, and she loved me, to life. But she gonna ride with me, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. She will. And so, but I know when I'm dealing with certain things, I know to go to who I need to go to when I'm dealing with things, because I know one is gonna give it to me real raw and ugly, and the other one, if I need her to, rah rah cheer me on, I know she's gonna be supportive and do that. But I need, I know when I need that, get in my butt, tell me what's right, because I know I ain't thinking what I need to be thinking, kind of thing, and I know who I need to go to then. So you're absolutely correct on that. Have those real, true accountability friends.
Yep.
So. Our one, what was one mental health myth you wish more? What's one mental health myth you wish more men would let go of?
I'll
That
go.
was easy.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Pastor.
I was saying, stop believing that talking about how you feel is a sign of weakness.
That's it. I knew you were gonna say it. That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, Stacy, what's something you've learned from another man on your own mental health journey?
Uh, from another man that along my own mental health issue, I learned that it is some people that I can trust. it is some men that I can trust and really let them know how I feel and don't have to be in a competition. Well, I'm a stronger man than you because I ain't going through what you going through. And like I said, it's important. And like I said, I think that you can find out from another man that, hey man, I can really trust you with my feelings. And like you said earlier, like saying your circle, it all depends on your circle. The people that you surround yourself with has to be people that you truly are comfortable with being yourself around on the good days and the bad days. So I think that I can trust another man to tell him how I truly feel and not see him as competition.
Awesome. Eric?
About the same. I think once you figure out who that circle is, you realize that number one, that I call them my vault people. That's going in a vault. When I tell him XYZ, it's going into a vault. It's not, he's not even going to bring it out to me. He might bring it if I bring it out, but he's never going to mention that. It's a vault, it's in there. And you got to learn that you can trust people. And just like Pastor said, it's not a competition. Sometimes we get caught up in I got to compete. And I got to realize that with my circle, with my accountability folks, there is no competition. There's no competition for who's got the biggest house and who makes the most money and who's the tallest and got a nice car. And there's no competition at all. It's he wants what's best for me as much as I want what's best for him. And that extends to everything. And there is just absolutely, it's a wonderful feeling to know that I'm talking to this brother and he only wants the best for me. You can't, that's priceless. There's no price you can put on that. And that's the thing I've learned, that over time, there are people that now the world's still the world now. You can't do that with everybody. But
Right.
once you find out who your people are, those are your people and there's no competition. And it's almost, you can't describe it, but you can feel it. You know what it is. This is my dude right here and I'm good.
Yeah. Those my peeps.
That's my people. My people
Those
right
my
there.
peeps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in closing, I'll ask you, give you guys an opportunity to answer this question, this final question. What advice would you give your younger self um, about mental health and emotional resilience?
Uh, I'm stealing again. My younger self was I didn't share with anybody. I ate it. I just swallowed it and kept on moving because I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. And I think my younger self, I would say, seek out somebody older, seek out a counselor, a pastor, or whatever sooner than, don't wait till 159 years old like me right now, trying to learn how to meditate. Do that early. I would tell them to do that sooner. It's okay.
Okay. Stacy?
I would tell my younger self, be careful who you call friend. Because there's a lot of people that I ran with caused a lot of the issue that I went with. They're trying to impress friends, trying to impress the people that you was hanging with. And I was tell my younger self, recognize if they're not for you, don't be for them. Cause you'll invest so much time into people that ain't even investing in you. So I would say to my younger self, watch who you call friend.
I like that. And not so much, and not just as friends, if they're dating people too, if they're dating the
Yeah.
wrong people, because that can have a huge effect on people mental health as well. So, be mindful of who you let, you share your energy with, when it comes to having people, around you like that in a compatibility way. So that's very huge as well. So guys, I thank you and appreciate you guys and your time on giving us your opportunity to share in on men's mental health awareness for the month of June. We do appreciate the input that you both gave on this evening's episode. Is there any last minute remarks that you guys would like to have before we close out?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for providing a forum. There can't be enough. There can't be too many forum for this to be talked about. I think that in doing so, as you talk to men, and this translates over to women, it's just another opportunity for us to be, for men, for us to be stronger in what we do and not have to be holding back. I think it's just a good thing to be able to we have limited amount of energy, and if we can get rid of the energy of hiding things inside and use that for something else, it only just makes it better. So thanks for having this forum. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for being on here, Stacy.
Yeah. Same thing. I just thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that some man that see this, whether it be a teenager, a young man, an old man, a middle-aged man, when they see this, they take from some of the stuff that we said and say, man, let me get somebody I can talk to. Let me find me a friend. Let me make sure I check my circle. Make sure I find someone I can truly be vulnerable with, and that's willing to be patient with me and let me express myself. So that's what I hope come out of this. Someone see it and then realize, man, let me talk to somebody, because I don't want to continue to go through what I'm going through, because I want my health mentally to be a place where I feel comfortable around people, and I'm not worried about what I'm going to do to myself because I got somebody I can talk to.
Absolutely. Because I think at the end of the day, the struggle for men when it comes to mental health and the stigma that, culturally, societally, that has been placed, we need to drop it. We need to release it, because we need our men who are leaders in our household, leaders in our families, leaders in our, homes and businesses and all those workplaces. We need these men healthy, not just physically. We need them healthy spiritually, mentally. So, and as leaders, as natural leaders, especially of families, we definitely want them to be at the top of their game. And when you can't be at the top of your game, if you're not at the mental capacity that you need to be at, and the Bible tells us that. The Bible tells us a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so we want to make sure that our men know that. So that way, if there's any kind of unbalance that he feels like he's dealing with or having or whatever, that he seek the necessary help that he needs. So at the end of our episode, Jada will make sure that resources from mental health awareness is posted on our Facebook page, as well as on at the end of this episode. So if you're in need of any resources that are available, we do have some mentors, some coaching in our women's group who are available to do coaching, counseling, and therapy session as well for you guys. So if you're available to have a woman coaching or doing therapy sessions for you, that is available. Reach out to us. We'll make sure that we get one of them to reach out to you and get something set up for you. But do not suffer in silence. We want to make sure that our men are leading the right way, and they're leading strong, and they're leading healthy in a healthy way mentally, because that's what we're expecting as women, to get our men back in their rightful place as the strong leaders that they're purposely supposed to be. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for being on Chic Chat Podcast. We hope that you guys will have an opportunity to come back and chat with us again, where we chat all things women, but we do leave an opportunity for our men to share in with us time and time again. We do want to leave you guys, make sure Jada gets your contact information, mailing information. We will send you guys a lunch gift card for sharing with us on this platform on this evening. And you guys can have lunch on Chic Chat Podcast for taking in on this episode with us. So thank you guys again. Any last minute things before we close out?
No, y'all have a good night.
All right. Well, have a good one, and we'll see you guys next week for the next episode. Thanks for checking in.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.